Let's talk about Darren Till. And my question to you is the basic one, and we don't ask it pejoratively. We're not trying to be mean, but you go 1-4 in the UFC, especially when you're hyped as the next big thing out of the UK. We just have to ask, BC, and you can answer this however you want. Is Darren Till overrated?
Yeah, and apparently I was right, Luke. I was the old guy saying that for years when everyone said you're crazy or you're a hater. And then I come around on Till in this fight and say, no, I heard what I needed to hear. And to Darren Till's credit, he's always been a great quote, right? Whether it be talking trash or whatever. But I just really like the mental toughness he has shown in his interviews leading up to this fight. And when he says, he's going to, no matter what, he's going to figure it out, I believe him. And I still believe, by the way, given his age and all things considered, that he's only lost to elites, that there's obviously still time. We're not panicking to the level of, is he going to lose his job? No. But he is in a, Kelvin Gastelum-like situation where it gets to a point where it doesn't matter the flashes that you've shown. Bill Parcells, ad nauseum, you are what your record says you are. Yes, Luke, Darren Till is overrated. And what I saw in the beginning is true. There's a lot to like. And maybe you weren't worried in round 3 for Brunson. I felt like Till was 1 or 2 punches away from putting that away and figuring it out and going, okay, it'll walk through a little bit of hell, but that same guy who gave Robert Whittaker troubles and dropped him, that's the same guy here. And Luke, he still is that same guy. But you got to get over that hump and win, and that's what he's not doing. So, Luke, you tend to know or fancy yourself an expert in some of these areas more than me, technical camps, coaches, and all that. I'm going to say yes to your question that Darren Till is showing us that he is overrated right now. But what should be the call to action? What should be the break glass panic in case of emergency? Because we are entering emergency times. Again, not for his employment level, but for the idea of how seriously do we take him. Luke, there are elements of his game or of his demeanor which you can't argue are elite. How does he get everything else up to it, Luke? What the hell would you advise him to do if he watched enough dissected episodes and realized that real recognizes real, and he was looking at old Professor Salt and Pepper and saying, fix me, bro, okay? Yeah. Take me as I am and fix me.
Yeah. So here's what I would say. I mean, one, I don't fancy myself an expert. I would say I am literate about these matters, but expert, no. You would leave that to the Faraz Zahabis and others of the world. But from my vantage point, which is what you're asking, here's what I would say. If you look at his game and we were able to rewind it 4 or 5 years, I would really have almost nothing to say. I would say he's right on par. The basic problem is that his offense is simply not dynamic enough, and he's got major gaps in his deficiency. What do I mean? If you look at his striking, now you're right, by the time the 3rd round rolled around, I was like, okay, this is a lot better. Where he was teeping to the midsection, he was throwing leg kicks and exiting, and he was a little bit more pronounced about his jab. That was, I thought, perfect. He was looking good when he was doing that, and he was framing on clinch breaks, and he was just doing a lot of the right things. But here's one of the major problems offensively. It's just a lot of 1-2s. Now, he's very, very good at it. His timing is good. He can cover distance very quickly. His left hand is sharp. It's powerful. But that's just really one weapon. Or you could set it up a lot of different ways, but I'm pointing out, it's not like he's been using a lot of uppercuts with combinations. It's not like he uses a lot of combinations really at all. It's just sort of fake you out with the timing and then the feinting and then throw the left. There's really not a whole lot behind it. At least it wasn't until the 3rd round. And even then, it was simply too little too late. That's sort of one problem. But the major problem, and this was the one that I saw and I was like, oof, this just needs a lot of work. Dude, I'm not saying he doesn't have ground skills. Like, if you ask me, has he trained sprawling before? He's been training sprawling for a long time. So why did he get taken down to 3rd after he stuffed the previous attempts by Derek Brunson? It is because instinctually, he just doesn't have that sprawl switch in his head when he needs to. When he is consciously thinking about getting his hips back and dropping them and the various things that go into stuffing a takedown, Brunson couldn't take him down. That was great. But the minute he started getting a little bit loose and that muscle memory of just the years that come with mat time, Derek Brunson was able to run over him in that way. He was able to literally push through him and get behind his legs, and he didn't have that sprawling instinct at a moment when he needed to have it. Moreover, on the ground, BC, this was the worst part. He doesn't have two-way jiu-jitsu, right? So he was underhooking and framing with his arms underneath, and his legs were doing nothing. If you go back and you watch, dude, Derek Brunson, I couldn't believe this, but it was true. Derek Brunson let Darren Till have double underhooks underneath, which if you do that against someone who's got a deep half guard, let me tell you something, bad shit is about to happen to you. But he let him do that because A, it was easier to frame and then strike, and Darren was doing nothing with his legs. He was just holding. If someone has double underhooks and they're just holding, then what you're doing is you're just clinging like a koala bear. You are not entrapping someone, lifting their weight over you so you can do whatever you want, sweep or sub or whatever, a leg entanglement, whatever you want. Dude, he just was hanging on. Man, you can't be in title fight or, title fight eliminators or something like this. You can't be in top 5 fights at middleweight when you have double underhooks and you're just hanging on underneath. That is not enough of a sophisticated offense from your ground game to win at this level. It's just not, dude. And Derek Brunson was having his way with him as a consequence. So to round out the answer, dude, he needs work, man. Like, he needs lots and lots of work. Not so much with the striking. I think he's very adept, bringing some of those things to bear easily. I think you could get that pretty quickly. He is obviously very gifted in that way. But the wrestling defense and then underneath the game, look at Adesanya. What happens when Marvin Vettori gets on top of him? He is immediately looking for sweeps. He's immediately looking for opportunities to create scrambles with submissions to disrupt the base. Dude, Derek Brunson was literally just sitting on one knee with one foot up and going to work because no one was challenging his base on top. It was a bad showing, if I can be honest with you, and that was a bit of a wake-up call for me.
He took many backward steps on the ground that you just illustrated. I mean, it was almost... I hate to say this because anytime a non-fighter talks bad about fighters, blah, 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 keyboard warriors, basement people, that's what I am, all that. But when Barber got exposed by Roxy, I was like, look, she showed remedial ground skills. Darren Till showed remedial ground skills. You make Derek Brunson not a great wrestler, but not a known... He's not Fedor in the ground and pound game. He made him look like a killer. So... Luke, it's tough. I have a couple questions. I have a couple,
Let me just add one small note to one thing you add. I don't want to cut you off. I just want to add. No, I'm not the guy to fix Darren Till. I don't know more than Darren Till. I can't fix Darren Till. I'm not that guy. But the problem is, if a guy like me can see those things, boy, you better believe his opponents can see it too.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know his financial situation. A lot of times guys fight because they have to. I think this is one of those pause moments where you take an extended period of time. You reevaluate your entire thing, your coaching system, your the people around you, everything, because you say, I still have a window. I'm 28 years old. I have a big name. I'm a great talker. I've shown you footage and evidence of being a very elite fighter in spots. But I got to figure this thing out. Luke, I thought it was most interesting at the start of this fight because when Darren Till's at his best, I think it's when he is striking from the outside and sort of controlling the terms. I mean, again, maybe my eyes are too remedial to see, but I saw him against Robert Whittaker make Whittaker fight his game. Whittaker just happened to be great enough that he was able to edge him. But what I saw against Brunson was a different type of Till. Even though he had success in the opening minute and a half of the first round against Brunson, Till was pushing the pace. Now, the announce team, was speculating, hey, maybe he's looking to crowd him to take away the threat of the takedown. But this was a more aggressive Darren Till that I wasn't sure if it was a smart game plan to go after it and leave no doubt and say, look, I'm turning my career around tonight and I'm going to take this fight, or it was a little bit desperate. And either way, as soon as Brunson changed levels and set him up for the takedown, he got it with ease. So, Luke, the panic move in a lot of these cases, let's use Kelvin Gastelum as an example, as people say, okay, well, the thing that's really going to fix him is to just go back down and wait. In Darren Till's case, he was a huge welterweight. Have you seen enough going 1-2 now as a middleweight to question within yourself, is this the right weight class for it?
I saw Michael Bisping say that, and obviously whenever Michael Bisping has an opinion about what a competitor at this level could do to improve themselves, it would behoove all of us to listen. And listen, you could make an argument about Adesanya, right? He showed the grappling against Jan Blachowicz at 205. It was a little bit flat, and then he goes down against Marvin Vettori, and all of a sudden his game comes to life. Now, obviously part of that is improvement and everything else, but the reality is because the guys are smaller or at least more commensurate with his size, he's just much more of a dynamic force. Would Till get some of that? If he could make it down safely, and that's really the only consideration here, BC, because remember, to your point, dude, this thing about Till, he's 28. He's 28. I'm saying things about him today that are critical, but I want everybody watching to know this is not me writing off Darren Till. This is me saying Darren Till's got work to do, but the good story is he's got time to do it. Could he, by going back down to welterweight safely? And remember, the last time he tried to make welterweight against Wonderboy Thompson, he went blind in the weight cut. That's a true thing that happened. If you can avoid that, do I think it would behoove him? Certainly. Certainly, I do think that it would, BC. But I got to be honest with you, watching some of the stuff on the ground the way that I did, it's not sufficient for any weight class. That's just not enough. You got to have a much more dynamic force. If an opponent is allowing himself to be out-gripped by you, essentially, to give you inside positional control because he knows you won't do anything with it, that's a problem, man. They don't do that in any other scenario, and they did it here, and that's a red flag.
I thought you were going to make a case that him, Kevin Lee, and Gastelum should be the face of the 165 division, Luke. I thought you were going to come out with that.
Well, see, here's the thing. Till, this is what I mean. I think Kevin Lee would be a fucking killer at 165. What about Till at 175?
Right. I mean, obviously, I'm not saying Till is going to make 165, but you get the point of saying, he's almost a tweener, Luke. And we don't see that with so many divisions these days where someone's a tweener outside of that gap between lightweight and welterweight. But he does seem like a tweener. So it's, I don't know, man. Yeah, you're right. Before we talk about other things, I do think he has some of those intangibles that I talked about, the mental toughness, there's a lot, the size at either weight. He's a big dude at either weight, but You got to dramatically change something, Luke. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be good theater to see him try.
Listen, the team he's with in the UK team Keobon, I don't have anything but good things to say about them. I really don't. Maybe he's just better than all the guys in the gym so that they can't push him in the way that they need to. I'm not the guy who knows how to fix Darren Till's problems. I'm only the guy who looks at tape and says, what do I see? And what I see is, at least in this fight, maybe he had an injury we didn't know about. That can often be a thing that comes out later. But what I saw in this fight was a guy who just did not have the requisite skills in the position he was in to get up on his feet, to defend himself, to create threats. And dude, this is not the last time someone's going to find you in this position. It's not okay to be at that level. If you want to win at the highest level, that's simply not satisfactory. That's just the reality.
And sometimes it's not the team. Like you just mentioned, you don't want to say anything bad about the team. I don't either. I'm just saying sometimes people need a change. Sometimes it's, I mean, look, why did Mike Perry succeed so much under Coach Latore, Luke? I say that as a joke, but you get my point here. People switch trainers sometimes because it's just a different voice that they need or a different setup and system. Look, we're all different, Luke, right? We all find our spouse for that one thing we're missing in ourselves that it fills in the blanks. I don't know if this is the right team. I don't know if that's the problem, but if he wanted to panic and switch, maybe it's something in the communication and the motivation. Maybe there's something missing there. I hope he finds it. I hope the man finds it, Luke, because even though I have historically thought he's overrated, I think he's great for the game. I love his personality. So let's see what happens.
And if Derek Brunson provides any lesson, is that some guys take a little bit longer to get better. Sometimes they have to switch camps to do it. Again, I don't know if that's what Darren Till needs to do. It's not my place to say. I have no idea. But he's 28, folks. You can be as critical as you want today, but you must reserve space for him to get better because he's got plenty of time and obviously, I think, athletic ability to do it.